by for Wyoming Hookin Huntin Outdoors with your host, Drew Kirby.
Hey, this is Luke Holmes.
I am Morgan Wallen.
I'm Riley Green.
I'm Travis Denning.
Hey, I'm Aaron Lewis.
Hey, it's Luke Bryan.
I'm Tim McGraw.
What's up? This is Ian Munsick.
Wyoming Hookin Huntin Outdoors.
Fishing is popular this time of year, Janet, and I'm telling you that next weekend is going to be a very popular time all over the state of Wyoming because it's Free Fishing Day.
That's right. Game and Fish is giving you the option to try before you buy, essentially. And it's a great opportunity if you used to fish or if you're not sure if you want to fish. On Saturday, June 1st, you get to go fishing for free.
Yeah, and it's really cool because there are also kid events around the area, including Yesness Pond. And that's one of those events that's been going on for quite a few years and really has got a lot of people excited and interested in fishing.
That's right. Make sure that you look in your local area for some of these kids events that we often hold to celebrate kids fishing or to celebrate Free Fishing Day. And here in Casper, like you said, at Yesness Pond, I want to say this might be the 25th annual or maybe even the 26th annual Harry Yesness Kids Fishing Day. And, the Community Recreation Foundation and the city of Casper helps host that. They are fantastic at getting amazing prizes donated for the kids. You can come out and join the North Platte Walleye Unlimited. They donate all the fishing poles to the kids. So if, kids just don't have the opportunity to go out and purchase their own fishing pole, here's a great chance for you to come and get one of your own.
Yeah, and families can come out. If you have 2 or 3 kids, get them involved and get them outside and off the tech and really just kind of learning the skill of fishing. And that's kind of one of the cool parts about the Kids Fishing Day is if you have zero clue of how to fish, what to do, there are enough people that'll be around that can help you out.
That's exactly right. And I tell the story every year, but, one time we had, it was a single mom who had a boy who wanted to be an avid angler and would beg and plead, let's go, let's go, let's go. And she didn't know how to fish, right? So she had the fishing pole and she had the bobber and she had the hook and she was hooking a worm to the bobber. She didn't know, really how to do that setup correctly. And so, the boy was frustrated. He wasn't quite catching what he needed to. And after a little bit of instruction, we got the setup right. And that kid hammered him all summer long. It was great. And on that note, just a reminder that we have community fisheries all around Wyoming where kids can walk to. They're close to town. There's amazing fisheries. So even if you don't have the time to drive to Glendo, Alcova, Pathfinder, or a boat to do those things, check out places like Lake McKenzie, which is also known as Bryan Stock Trail here in Casper, Harry Yesness Fishing Pond, Jessica's Pond, all places that are close to town that are fun to fish.
Yeah, and there's a river that runs right through the middle of it as well. So, there are opportunities all over the place, and there are only a couple of places where the Free Fishing Day doesn't work, and that's in the national parks, and that's on the Wind River Reservation. So you can't do that in those areas, but most everywhere else in the state you can do it.
That's correct. Any time of the year, you need different permits in those areas to fish. And so always check in with those entities to make sure that you have all of the permits, licenses, rules, and regs that you need on the reservation or in Yellowstone National Park, Grand Teton maybe as well. And so those are things to keep in mind. But the rest of the state, all of the rules and regulations. So the number of fish that you can keep, the type of gear that you need to use, all of those things are still in place, but you do not need to have a fishing license. And it's pretty fantastic, Drew.
Yeah, and I think that may deter people or scare people a little bit is because we talk about all of the regulations a lot on this show because we need people to know what they have to do. And if you go to wgfd.wyo.gov, you can have the regulations on your phone. You can download it right to your phone. It's PDF form and really has every bit of information for every area of the state. And, the creel limits, that's an important one because there are different ones for different fish in different areas.
That's right. And I, want to encourage folks that may want to go out this coming June 1st for the free fishing, but to just do that. Look at the regulations. Most of the places that those folks will be visiting fall underneath the statewide regulation, which is not difficult to find or follow. Some of the more precise stuff that we do want to talk a little bit more about are in some of those maybe more remote areas that, we're trying to do restoration work or reintroduction work with, or that we are trying to maybe get rid of the illegal introduced fish, those sorts of things. And so just be encouraged that it's not that difficult here for Free Fishing Day. And it's a great time to get out and try before you buy. Maybe you can get energized again and want to repurchase a license. If, maybe you just haven't had the energy to get out and fish in the last couple of years, now's your time to see if you want to do it again.
And being a resident of Wyoming, getting a fishing license isn't that expensive in the long run. And, you have to be, over 14, I think you have to have a fishing license.
Yeah, that's right. There is a youth license that you can purchase, and I think it's $3. So that is there if you're over 14 to 18. And then over 18, you do need to purchase your own license. But it's not, outrageous. Near $30 is all for the year. And so it is now 365 license. And so it used to be a calendar year. And so it was a little bit more, difficult to purchase your license in June and know that maybe you wouldn't use all of it that year. But now if you purchase it in June, you can use it all winter, all next, spring, and be ready to purchase again next year if needed.
Yeah, and again, with technology, you don't even have to go into a store. You can do it all right there on the wgft.wyo.gov. And Janet, we also need to point out that if you are going out on Saturday to fish and you're going to go to somewhere, where you can put a boat in or a kayak in or a canoe in and you're going to fish out of that, you got to make sure you have your AIS stickers.
That's right. Make sure, that if you are a kayaker, boater, any of those sorts of things, you should be fairly familiar with the AIS or Aquatic Invasive Species Program. That is a program that the Wyoming Game and Fish does operate in order to keep those invasive species out of Wyoming. For the most part, people are pretty aware of those things, but don't forget to get your decal. If you're coming from out of state, let's say you have been fishing in Colorado and you are coming into Wyoming, you must have an inspection before you launch. And so make sure that you are getting that done. But if you've been fishing at Alcova and you're headed down to Glendo, if you pass an inspection site that is open, you do need to stop and have your boat inspected. But other than that, if you don't happen to pass that, you are good to launch. So just keep that in mind, that a lot of times the boats that we're targeting are maybe bringing in things from out of state.
And I'll tell you, being at Glendo quite a few times this summer already, you got to stop because it's right in the middle of town.
That's right. Maybe there was some logic to that, Drew. I wasn't a part of planning that, but there might have been something that went into that. And you do need to stop. And, just as a reminder, it is can be pretty quick, but it is very important. And that decal is very important. I have heard some rumors from folks that have been very upset this year that there are some tickets being given to folks without that decal and that are launching without an inspection. They're actually pulling boats off the water and sending them to an inspection station. So again, a lot of that has been for out-of-state folks, but just keep in mind that if you do have relatives coming in or friends and family, make sure that you are letting them know to get all of that taken care of.
All right. Well, a great day to fish is on Free Fishing Day, June 1st this year. It's the first Saturday of June every year.
Correct.
But you can get more information. And again, go to the website, wgft.wyo.gov. Very easy to use now, and it's a new website and very easy to click around and find out what you're looking for.
We hope people are enjoying it. If not, make sure to let us know and we can make some changes.
Very good. Janet, thank you so much, and have fun on the Free Fishing Day.
Hey, thanks. We'll look forward to seeing you, Drew.
It's Wyoming Hookin and Huntin Outdoors.
It's Drew and Brian back on Wyoming Hookin and Huntin Outdoors. And boy, Brian, fishing has been hot lately. I know there have been a lot of folks that have been at Glendo, a lot of folks at Alcova, even some up at Pathfinder that have had some pretty good run of luck.
Yeah, it seems like everything's starting to hit off pretty good. We've had to play around some of these thunderstorms and rain showers, and hell, we had snow this last week. So that's going to definitely affect the fish a little bit, at least their behaviors, and maybe those fish that were shallow might be moving a little bit deeper. But
so we hope that we're moving into a warming trend, but as we found out, when we were at Glendale a couple of weeks ago for the tournament, that you got to be prepared for everything. We got out there and I thought, oh man, it's just going to be freezing all day. So you layer up, but as soon as you get out on the water, you're like, oh, look at the beautiful sun and it's hot, and then I got to jump in just to cool off a little bit.
I don't think we went that far, but the bottom of the boat sure had a lot of layers of clothing on it.
It did. And that's one of the best parts about this time of year is it's comfortable. I mean, you can always put more clothes on. It's hard to take clothes off, though, when it gets too hot. So.
Right. Yeah, no, it's definitely that time of year where we're coming into that stretch. It looks like we're going to be in mid 70s and maybe even break 80s here in the next couple of weeks. So it should be nice.
So obviously you come into the store and you walk down the aisles here and you got about anything and everything. If you're going to get out and you're going to hiking or you're going to go fishing or even camping with Memorial Day weekend, we're in it. So it's officially that time.
Yeah, this weekend we've sold quite a few tents and just, camping equipment in general, tent stakes. Everybody loses or breaks tent stakes. It's amazing how many of those darn things we sell. But, everybody's kind of getting ready. This is like the kickoff to summer, really. Most of them are out of school now, and whether you're going to head up to the Bighorns or you're going to go, hit some streams fishing or river fishing, we pretty much have everything you need here to get you set up.
Yeah, and that includes the ORV stickers and state park stickers, because a lot of people would be opting to head to Glendale or over, to Boise or somewhere like that, with Casper Mountain being kind of out of use this summer.
Yeah, with the construction on Casper Mountain, none of the county parks are open up there. So that's probably going to put a little more pressure, on Alcova and Pathfinder. And the guys that like the mountain scenery, there'll probably be a little bit more pressure going into the Bighorns. But yeah, we have the ORV tags, the state park passes. So if you need reservations on that end of it, of course, if you're looking for a reservation at Alcova, or Pathfinder, those are both county parks, and then you'll go through the county parks reservation systems for those.
So you can get it all here at Rocky Mountain Discount Sports. And don't forget your fishing license. If maybe last year Memorial Day weekend was the weekend you went out fishing, you got to get that renewed.
Yeah, definitely something to check. Those licenses now go 365 days, and they're not calendar year like they used to be. So, it used to be that every January we just go and renew our fishing licenses. Now they expire on the time that you purchased it. So don't be afraid to renew it early, because even if it doesn't expire until July 1st, if you come in and renew it now, it'll extend from July 1st.
So, you come in here and you got your fishing gear and you're heading out to the lake. You're going to spend the whole weekend there. You got to take food with you. And you guys have a great line of coolers here, too. That coolers these days are so much more than just a styrofoam cooler. The Grizzlies or the Yeti, any of those are just so advanced.
Yeah, they are advanced, and that's why the price is, reflecting in that. So we carry coolers from Wild Gear, from Grizzly, and from Yeti. All three are great choices. Of course, the Wild Gear coolers are made right here in Casper, Wyoming, so that's kind of cool. Really, those coolers are over-engineered. They've got great wheel systems, so you can haul them around. They're ball bearing systems. They're not a cheap plastic wheel like you find on some. And of course, then the stainless cups, the Stanley cups, the Grizzly cups, the Wild Gear cups, all of that type of stuff to keep your beverages nice and refreshed over the summer.
They helped us both ways, hot and cold, when we were out on the water, because started with coffee, washed it out, put water and ice in there, and we're ready to roll.
Yeah, no, it's nice having good equipment. Those coolers, today's coolers are pretty much going to last you forever. I mean, most of them are all Bear certified. So if you're going into the Bighorns, you have to have a cooler that's Bear certified now, and they retain the ice really well. So you're not going to be disappointed.
Absolutely, keep that beer cold and your steaks for the grill that you're going to pick up here at the store too.
Yeah, we got a lot of our guys this week are looking at some of these portable camp units, where they're Coleman's got some great barbecue or propane ones that are kind of weekenders that kind of fold up and go in the back of your truck or the back of a tailgate. So those are great options. Of course, we have all the lodge, which, camping season to me is, getting that peach cobbler on the coals and doing that out of the cast iron. So we have a really good selection of all of that right now. So, don't be left without it.
Absolutely. Summertime is here. A great time to get out, enjoy what we have in our backyard, and start your weekend or your trip off by stopping in here, Rocky Mountain Discount Sports.
It's Wyoming Hookin and Huntin Outdoors.
We're back. We're ready. We're hip-hopping and heave-hoing, Brian, as we're just a week away from the next round of the Wyoming Stampede, the Walleye Stampede, and it's looking good. I mean, the boats are in, the lineup is made, and you're ready to roll. Yeah,
we're pretty excited about this one. We've got some pretty cool add-ons for this tournament. We've got the big rider style cups for first, second, and third. We're going to have jackets for the winners. We're going to have Super Bowl rings with the person's name, with their weight on the ring, with the Gov Cup.
Fish weight, not their actual.
Yes. Although their own weight might be better, but fish weight. So it's gonna be a really, really cool event. So there's gonna be a traveling trophy to kind of display the winners, and they'll be on display down in Glendo at one of the businesses down there. So pretty exciting. And then what I look forward to is Friday. We're having a kids event. So we're gonna take about 20 or 25 kids from the Glendo area. They're gonna have a chance to fish with one of our pros for a day. Our anglers have donated their time, and they're gonna be able to go out and fish for 4 hours. Doc down there at the trading post is going to be supplying hamburgers for all the kids after the event. Bellwood Boats is going to be hosting the event. And then North Platte Walleyes has supplied fishing poles and little tackle boxes for each one of the individuals.
Very good. So if you're not in the tournament but you want to get the kids involved, that's a very good way to do that. Now, we're moving into June, next weekend, June 1st. So we're there. It's summer months are upon us. We haven't had that hot of a late May, really. We're talking maybe in the 80s this week, but how's the fish bite right now? I know we had a whacked out last week with a little bit of snow, and it was warm, and it's just kind of weird.
Yeah, the thing with Wyoming is, we try not to plan our days around the weather, because if you do, you just never do anything, right? And so I've been out a few times. Fish are definitely there. They're good quality fish. They are kind of biting on just about anything now. You can find some warmer waters in some of the bays, but we've caught them on minnows, on leeches, worms, plastics. I know guys that are pulling crankbaits. They're catching fish. So it's just now, this is the time of year where it's just starting to heat up. And so we have had, some rough days. We've had some high winds.
Mm-hmm.
We had, like I said, that rain and snow flurries last week. I was watching cars come down off of Casper Mountain with 3 inches of snow on their hoods. I'm like, where the heck is going on here? But, we got to still remember, it's still fairly early. And even in June, we could get snow. But it is starting to look good, and the fishing up at Pathfinders is kicking in. Seeing a lot of guys posting some pictures of some really nice trout that they're catching while they've been walleye fishing, and I heard that Boysen Reservoir has actually had a really good bite up there as well.
So on your boat, when we're fishing, you have a compartment that has multiple rods. You may have 2 or 3 people on the boat with you, but if it's just you and you're out fishing, what kind of setup do you have on certain poles? Do you just have do you have the crankbait on one and then you have the bobber on the other? Or?
I usually probably it look like a bass boat sometimes. I've got 4 or 5 rods on deck, and I usually will have a bobber rod as a second rod. I love fishing bobbers, whether with minnows or leeches, and I prefer leeches, especially this time of year. But I'll have a couple poles set up with jigs. I might have one with an 1/8 ounce jig that I'm going to pitch live bait with. I might have one with a 1/4 ounce jig that I'm going to run twister tails. I might have another 1/4 ounce jig with a paddle tail or some type of a swim bait of some sort. And then I'll have another rod lined up with a braid. I like the Suffix 832. I run that for casting cranks, and so put a quick snap on that. So if I want to change out the presentation, I can. On those 1/4 ounce jigs, a lot of times I'm switching out plastics. I'm putting on a different color. I'm putting on baby bass or lavender flukes or sassy shads or whatever the case is. Kind of just depends on the structure that I'm fishing, and just kind of have an overall feel of where I'm catching fish and at what depth.
So when you go, obviously Glendo is a popular place. You like to go to Glendo, but if you were deciding, today I'm going to go to Alcova and fish, are you having a whole different lineup of setups that you'll have with you, or is everything pretty much the same?
Well, my lineup at Alcova is a little bit different, but I'll still run, my 1/4 ounce jig with some live bait options, and then I'll run a 1/4 ounce jig. I don't pitch a lot of cranks there. I mean, I've trolled numerous times there for trout. And it really just kind of depends on time of year. And like right now, there's not a lot of boats out there. There's not a lot of play boats. I tend to stay off of there when there are a lot of play boats. Just kind of harder to keep boat control. And then at Pathfinder, kind of do a lot of the same Glendo presentations. There's not as much weed structure at Pathfinder. So where I'm normally pitching paddle tails or crankbaits into the weeds, I don't have that presentation. So it doesn't mean I won't put it on the deck, because if the fishing, if I'm in a spot where I just kind of feel like, hey, I'm in 3 to 7 foot of water, and I think I'm catching some fish, I'm going to go back to a crankbait and pitch a crankbait for a while, just see if I can get something to hit, because nothing better than catching a walleye when it smashes a crankbait.
So if you're going with, say, the jigs, you said you may have a couple of setups with the jig on there. Are you going with the same color on there, or do you think much about the jig head and color?
Well, I use what a lot of my friends call elephant color. So just unpainted, just gray jig heads in a lot of cases. I think when I'm pitching plastics, I'm running those pretty aggressively, and I'm looking for a reaction bite, kind of like a crankbait. And so I don't know that the head color is necessarily that big of an indicator as, the movement of that particular plastic moving through the weeds and that kind of stuff.
And let the plastic color do the talking more than the jig head?
Well,
or that really doesn't
the
matter
action.
either?
Yeah, it's the action of it. You put a twister tail on, man, you got this big floppy tail that's, just running through the water. Paddle tail is a little bit tighter, just thumping motion. And so I don't know. I mean, I'll fish with some guys and they're like, yep, you have to have a purple jig head. And hey, they catch fish, but I'm not saying that they're catching more or less than what I'm catching with an unpainted one or a white jig head. But I do pitch a lot of white, a lot of chartreuse. Occasionally I'll throw a orange jig head on, but a lot of times it's just a unpainted, nothing fancy.
Right. So, and really, we kind of put a lot of thought into things, but they're fish, and if you can convince them that there's something they want to eat, that's what you have to do.
Yeah, I have that argument with a lot of guys, especially as the summer moves on and the worm bite gets good, right? And I can sit there and pitch an unpainted jig head and put a half a crawler on it and just bounce it off the bottoms, pull it through the weeds, and I'll catch fish all day long. Now, you watch some of these guys on YouTube, and they're running these death hooks, I guess they're calling them, and or search bait, and they're a lead head with followed by a slow death hook and maybe even a trailer behind that, and it's like, this is the presentation that you have to run a worm. Well, we've been running fishing worms for hundreds of years.
Yeah, right.
I mean, you can put it on a paper plate, you can put it on a ceramic plate, you can throw it on the floor. It doesn't matter to me. I think the fish is going to eat it. It's kind of like putting a steak out there.
Yeah.
If you give me a good steak, it doesn't matter if it's on a paper plate or a ceramic plate or whatever. I mean, it could be on a rock as far as I care. A good steak's still a good steak. I'm going to eat it.
It's funny. When I was a kid, we went out with cane poles like that. We had a cane pole, a bobber, and a hook and a worm, and we caught fish every time we went out. That was the fun stuff.
I remember going to New Hampshire with my dad. He grew up there, and we went hornpout fishing, and we had like a 10-foot cane pole, and you have to walk your line all the way back there and string it out there, and then you just do one solid swoop over your head and
And
where
there
the
it
bobber
is.
lands. There's no reel. I mean, when you hooked a fish, you just ran up the shoreline and that pulled the fish onto shore.
Yeah.
You know?
And, it's so funny because there's so many electronics and everything now involved with fishing, to make it easier and to make it enjoyable where you're not out there beating your head against the rocks because you can't get a fish. But, the life of luxury that we live now compared to what the old timers dealt with,
Well, and when you talk about electronics, I've got a live Humminbird Live on my boat, and I've played around with it. I usually put it on my boat for the first couple trips of the year, and I pull up to a spot and I can see some fish moving around, and it's like, okay, they're here, but if I'm fishing for 15 minutes and I don't get a bite, I'm not sticking around.
Right.
I think that's the biggest thing is a lot of guys, they get to a spot and they just spend so much time there because they're like, I see fish on my graph. And to me, I'm not good enough to really identify the difference between a walleye and a carp and a sucker, and like some of the fish you can identify just based on their size. You get into a school of crappie, you pretty much know they're crappie.
Yeah.
Maybe they're perch, but they're a smaller version, probably not what you're looking for. And so to me, like the electronics are great, but nothing beats experience and understanding the water conditions and understanding the transition of the fish, especially in these reservoir systems. And our reservoirs are a lot different than these natural lakes that people have in Minnesota and Wisconsin and some of those areas. The fluctuating water is what really saves our fisheries. I mean, not everybody can figure them out every week. They're like, well, I caught fish here yesterday. What's going on? Well, did you look at the water pressure, or in terms of like at Glendo, if they drop the water 2 foot overnight, those fish will slide out and they'll be in deeper water. When the water's rising, those fish will go shallow, and they're chasing the whatever new nutrients that are coming off the shorelines as the water rises, and the bug hatch is getting washed in, and the worms are getting washed into the shoreline, and it's more experience and just kind of knowing what to look for, and and I'm not successful every time, but there's not too many times where I don't catch a fish.
Yeah, it's funny. I went with somebody else the other day, and you're like, well, you can come get in my boat if you need to catch fish.
Well, you gotta razz your buddies, otherwise it doesn't help, right?
Yeah, right. Get out, enjoy, and make sure you stop here at Rocky Mountain Discount Sports before you head out.
It's Wyoming Hookin and Huntin Outdoors.
Wyoming Hookin and Huntin Outdoors, and here in Wyoming, we love to have a blast. I'm telling you, if you can get out and you can fire a firearm, you're going to have a great time. It's guaranteed you're going to have a great time. And if you head out to the Central Wyoming Machine Gun and Cannon Shoot on June 7th, 8th, and 9th, you're going to have an explosion of a time. And we have Quentin Miller with us, who's the ringleader, the kingpin, as he has said, of this event. And Quentin, this is awesome. It's so cool to see all of these firearms come together on one weekend, and there's a lot of firepower, too.
Yeah, we have everything from 22 long rifles all the way up to a 90 millimeter anti-tank gun that shows up. Every machine gun that's ever been manufactured that you can dream of shows up to this thing. This year we're having a M134 minigun. For those who are served in the military probably knows what that is, but for the folks that don't, it's basically a motorized Gatling gun that shoots I think they have 2 speeds. Usually you see guys shoot them on the 3,000 round a minute setting, but they can also go up to, I think, around 6,000 rounds a minute.
Holy moly!
Yeah, it's when you hear it for the first time, it'll make the hair stand up on your neck. It's really wild to see something that can throw that many rounds downrange in that shorter time. No bigger than a suitcase. It's a real lightweight gun that they built to put on helicopters. Yeah, it's a pretty neat deal.
So you've been doing this a few years now, and you've had more and more people interested in something like this, especially with the way the country kind of is right now. People are like, well, I want to get out and I want to blow things up and I want to have a good time, and I still want to learn how to shoot these guns. And not everybody has the ability to go out and just grab a machine gun and go, except for this weekend, because that's one of the cool parts about this is you guys have so many different machine guns available that you can rent. You can blow things up. You just got the dynamite as we're speaking, and then the nightly Mad Minute tracer shoot. I've seen videos of this, Quentin, and I mean it's just a fun, amazing time.
Yeah. So we have a couple renters. We have Denver Bullets I believe they're out of Colorado Springs now. They moved. They used to be in Denver, but they moved. They come up every year, and them guys are a ammo manufacturer down there. So they also have their, 0207 FFL. So they have the machine guns to go with the ammo and all that. They'll rent for the weekend. And we have another, probably going to butcher his last name, Scott Urich, I believe is his name. He comes out of Texas. With Texas Tactical Academy. This guy, he's got, you got to see his boards to see all of his guns. I mean, it's like you walking into a gun store when you walk into his booth and, to pick what guns you want to rent. Both of those guys are really good. So some of the safest guys around to rent machine guns. Of course, that's a big thing with this event is the safety. The Mad Minutes that you're talking about, so that's and I'm sure somebody will correct me on this if they hear it, and I tell you wrong, but the Mad Minute, I believe, come Korea or Vietnam, probably Vietnam. At night, they'd shoot for a minute straight into the dark to spook off any, I don't know what you want to call them.
Enemy soldiers?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Any enemy that would be, creeping up on you in the middle of the night, and so they would just shoot kind of into the night with tracer rounds and whatever else they had to push them back a little bit. And so that's kind of a tradition that we do every night at the Friday and Saturday night. We'll wait till it gets somewhat dark. We try and get it as dark as possible, but again, you don't want a bunch of guys running around dark with machine guns.
Right.
It usually is a pretty good show, especially if we get everybody shooting all at once. And Saturday night we'll do some explosions and fireballs and stuff like that during the Mad Minute, and it usually looks pretty good on film.
The thing that's fun to me is it says fireworks, and people are like, "Oh, you're going to shoot some bottle rockets off," and then you're like, "Oh no, this is a fireworks." Yeah,
so we do put on a small fireworks show Saturday evening after the shoot's done and over with for the night. We wait till it gets all the way dark, obviously, for the fireworks, and me and the blasting crew go up on the hill, and I think we have more fun setting it up and shooting it off. I know that it's been a tradition that here in Casper we don't get to set off fireworks because of the so we have to go to the county fire and get permit and all that stuff. And, of course, Barn Run Fire Department's out there the entire weekend with their brush trucks and their EMS personnel.
You mentioned safety, but safety is important. Anytime that you're a firearms enthusiast and you're having an event like this, the number one thing is safety. You have families that are out there, you have people that are out there that, you don't want anyone getting hurt. So, I mean, when it comes down to it, how do you really promote the safety on grounds?
So we kind of go back to the military way of things. I've been a participant in this actual shoot for, I don't know, probably 15 years. And the range safety officer that used to run it, his name is Bill Black. He was a corpsman in the Navy, did some special warfare stuff. He run the range like they did in the military, and I mean, very particular. He starts and stops the range at a specific time, and then he has block officers. So he's up in the control tower, the conning tower as we call it, and then he has block officers who are on the ground patrolling the firing line. Looking for safety issues and people that are having malfunctions, whatever. We have that all the time. How they ever use machine guns in war, I have no idea, because we can't keep them running for 3 days a year.
Right.
So you got to clear that firearm before you can remove it from the firing line to work on it. We've had some instances where the block officers have really shined as far as their professionalism and the way they've handled things. So Bill Black, he retired from being our chief range safety officer, I guess if that's what you want to call him, a range officer, here a couple years ago. And we've got a younger kid that's a little brother of a friend of mine that helps out. And we've been kind of showing him the ropes and helping him along for the last couple of years. And he's got some big shoes to fill with, what Bill had and, all them years of doing it. But he's got some good block officers under him that are vets as well. And they keep him in line and keep him going the right direction. So, and that's what we got to do as the older generation phases out and, goes away. We gotta get some younger folks in there to take care of stuff. So,
we've talked a lot on this show about HD Outdoors because we believe in what they do. And this year you guys have teamed up with HD Outdoors and they're benefiting from the entire weekend. Not
to take the spotlight off of HD Outdoors, but we'd worked with Hunting with Heroes for several years. I think this was our 7th year doing it. And I think the first year was the only year we hadn't done it with Hunting with Heroes. Them guys decided they wanted to go a different direction this year. So I know Tom Whitmire really well. Matter of fact, his late son was a groomsman in my wife and I's wedding. So I've known Tom for a long time. He used to be part of Hunting with Heroes, actually helped out at the shoot years ago when we first got going with them. I knew Tom and Lindsay had started up their own little deal, and I thought, I'm going to give them guys a holler and see what they're up to. I think it's great that they're limiting the number of hunts, and they're 100% paid for, all inclusive, and they're going on fishing trips, and what I think is cool is the recoil therapy that they do every month.
Yeah.
They get guys together and go out and shoot. I asked him, I said, how do I get on that? Because I only get to shoot like once a year. So, I think it's awesome. They're getting the vets out and helping them out and getting them out of the house and going and doing something and thanking them for their service and taking care of them.
Yeah, we've definitely seen a lot of benefits come from, all of these veteran, therapy organizations. And man, Quentin, we appreciate you stepping up and being part of this and keeping the tradition going in Wyoming, where we'd love to see things blow up. And the event, again, going June 7th, 8th, and 9th. You can get out and find out more information. There's a website, which is cwmgshoot.com, or follow on the social media pages. And that's a great option for you too. Just search for Central Wyoming Machine Gun and Cannon Shoot. And Quentin, we look forward to hanging out with you. And I know you guys still have some weekend passes and camping available, don't you?
We'll have as much camping as we need. We got the whole ranch. We can put campers on out there, and the weekend passes you can get those off of the Facebook page or Eventbrite. There's a link on the Facebook page or the website, as well as you can get camping passes on there, or you can purchase the weekend passes at the gate as well. We push a lot of people to the online ticket sales just because it's easier. We may not have cell service out there for card readers and things of that nature. So if you don't pre-purchase them, bear in mind, bring cash, because more than likely none of the card readers and stuff like that work. About the only thing we found that really works out there is like satellite communications. The cell providers out there are just junk, and they don't work very well. So I'd like to talk about Pete Garrett and the Garrett family. They're the owners of the ranch that we do this on. Can't thank them guys enough for allowing this to happen on their beautiful piece of property. They've been very gracious with us. Pete's number one rule is don't shake the windows in the house.
But you've tried, right?
Oh, we have. We have. Last year, I always ask him after the shoot, I said, well, did we knock anything off the walls? And he goes, no, but the window shook a couple times. I said, okay. I said, we'll tone it down next year. And he goes, well, not too much, you know. Right? So, but the Garrett family is awesome. Just great people to work with. Whenever I have a new idea or want to try something new, I'll bounce it off Pete and his son Steve, and you know, we'll talk about it, and usually it's yeah, let's give it a try, you know. So, but yeah, they're great folks. I don't know any other rancher that would allow us to do what we do on their land.
Absolutely. Well, it's going to be again June 7th, 8th, and 9th, the Central Wyoming Machine Gun and Cannon Shoot. All you do is take Highway 220 from Casper like you're heading toward Laramie. Yep,
hang a left there at Clark's Corner on Highway 487 off of 220, and 12 miles. I think it's between mile markers 60 and 61.
Okay. On
your left-hand side, after you go, you'll make the big sweeping curve out there by Red Creek School. And if you drive by it, you're blind because it looks like a giant circus out in the middle of the hay pastures. So once you turn into the gate, you'll probably go about another half to 3/4 of a mile you'll run into the HD Outdoor folks that'll be running the gate for us. Sign the waiver and pay your money, and then they'll get you in there and parked and let the fun start. So
Quentin, it's a full weekend event out there. Are there food trucks? Are there opportunities for people to eat?
We actually have 2 food trucks. One of them is 6 Gun Kettle Corn, and I believe they're out of Riverton. They've been with us for probably the last 4 or 5 years. Julie Ballard is the gal that owns and runs that truck. She, it's called Kettle Corn, but she makes some really good food. She also feeds all my blasting crew and RSOs. And the second food truck is Phillies and Cream, and they're out of Shoshone. And they make Philly cheesesteak sandwiches and some of the best milkshakes and malts that you'll ever have. They love this event. I think they'd come even if they didn't make any money. They just like coming over here and feeding everybody and
watching stuff blow up. So. Yeah. Woo!
Yeah.
It's testosterone times 10,000.
Yeah. There's a few times you get your blood pumping. Yeah. So I'd like to give a shout out to some of my sponsors real quick. Mosier Energy Systems. They supply a gym set, all the power for the loudspeakers and campers, and then Blakeman Propane. Them guys donate I think 500 gallons of propane to run the generator for the weekend, and they save up all their old propane bottles for us to shoot up. Superior Signs, another big one. They do all of our signage and banners, thank you banners, supporter banners, and that kind of stuff. Alan over at Advanced Auto, he keeps us stocked and brake clean and WD-40 for the clean and lubricate the machine guns. Gosh, who else? Buckley Powder out of Gillette. They donated a bunch of explosives this year. Pepsi, Indian Ice. Them guys supply us with the ice and water to keep everybody cooled down. We appreciate everybody that helps out with this deal.
Go check them out again online at Facebook, Central Wyoming Machine Gun and Cannon Shoot. And, of course, the CWMGshoot.com. Quentin, appreciate it, man, and good luck for the next little while. You're going to be busy.
Oh, yeah. Takes us about a week to get that all set up, and then it takes about a week to tear it all down and clean it up and put the land back to the way it was before we got there. So 3 days a year we get to blow stuff up, shoot machine guns, and not get in trouble for it.
That's right. I can't wait, man. I'll see you next weekend.
All right. Sounds good. Take care.
Wyoming Hookin and Huntin Outdoors with Drew Kirby. If you have a question, want to make a comment, or have an idea for a show topic, message us on the My Country mobile app. Wyoming Hookin and Huntin Outdoors.